This is Nhlanhla aka Bahati, and that is track number 3 on the CD album Umusa Wakhe. And that track talks about Arise My Soul. So I'm going to share with you why my soul had to arise and in what circumstance I had to arise. And there have been many more other situations and circumstances where I had to remind myself and talk to myself and talk to my soul about what I now know, what I now understand based on the journey that I've had with God, what God is capable of doing in anybody's life, including my one. So I am in hospital again. Maybe before I get into hospital, this is about the birth of my daughter. So I'm the kind that wanted to have natural birth by all means, at all cost. And it didn't work with my son. I had to be rushed for an emergency cesarean operation. After about 6 hours of trying to push until the child got tired and retreated, and it became dangerous to the child. And by the time I went for an operation, it was actually dangerous for both mom and child. So my doctor just said, no more, we will not try this again. So besides, once a cesarean, always a cesarean. So I'm very sad. First, I'm disappointed with the fact that I couldn't deliver naturally. Secondly, I'm sad that I can no longer in the future, because she's just said once a cesarean, always a cesarean. So it's a painful experience. So then I fall pregnant with my daughter, and I'm expecting my daughter, and I started researching, Googling information about possibilities of being able to deliver naturally, besides all the odds. I knew what was at stake. I knew what had happened before. So I am very extra careful, but I'm praying so hard. So these are the things that I did. So every day I was working on the 3rd floor. I walked upstairs. I didn't take the lift. I walked upstairs and I will sit for an hour, and in between I'll walk to the bathrooms and I will do some few exercises. This is every day. I cut out all junk. I didn't want to crave anything that wasn't beneficial for the project, because I wanted to deliver naturally and I wanted to be fit enough and to eliminate any possibilities of anything that would stop me from doing this. I went to a homeopath. I got stuff that would help me, strengthen me for energy and all of these things. So I really took care of myself for the whole 9 months. I was very active. They knew me in my neighborhood. Every time I came from work, I'll park the car and I'll get onto my gym gear, and with my big belly, I will be walking very fast around, and I'll be carrying my water, and people would like, geez, you're so strong. I mean, you're not supposed to be walking by now. What if you give birth on the street? It was like, you know what, even if I give birth on the street, this is what I'm going to do. I want to be fit. I want to be ready. Now, I've done a lot of research about things that you can do to give birth naturally. It wasn't on the basis that this was your second time and your other time was cesarean. It was just if you wanted to give birth naturally. So I just kept on reading all of this stuff. But scripturally, I stood on the word that said that the Hebrew women gave birth so quickly. They were quickly delivered before the Egyptian midwives came in. So that scripture, when the Egyptian Pharaoh had issued a decree that the midwives, the Egyptian midwives, must kill all the Hebrew boy children, I just knew that when the word of God said that, but they were quickly delivered. In other words, they didn't have to go through long labor. In other words, they delivered before the midwives even arrived. So I said, Lord, I take this word for myself. I take this word for myself that I know that I'm sort of like breaking the rules with my gynecologist in this case, because she's really given me her professional advice, and I really love her and I love her counsel. But it's coming against the grain of what I believe, because this is what, and I'm so convicted by this thing. And I'm not saying that someone must push things beyond their boundaries. You're going to have to believe and to know beyond doubt what you wanted. And like in my first instance, I had believed, I had done everything, it didn't happen. This time around, I said, I'm going back to the boxing ring. I want to see what's going to happen, and this is what I'm gunning for. So then the day came, the day of delivery. I am rushed to hospital. I only went to hospital when I was, I think I must have been about 7 centimeters dilated, and it was dangerous because it was very close. So when I got in and the nurses checked me, they said, you are ready to deliver right now. And it was very early in the morning. And I knew I wasn't going to sit there for 6 hours like I did the first time around. This time, I knew that I don't want to spend more than 30 minutes, before I deliver. So be that as it may, they need to check your blood pressure. They check, the heartbeat of the baby and all of that. During that time, the baby retreated. And then I had to start again. So my husband is here in the ward and the nurses are here, and I told them not to call the doctor until we're ready to deliver. And because they were right around me, I just said, please, can you give us space a little bit? So they gave us space. They said, whenever you need help, you just press this button, we'll be right here. They were very close. So I'm in this ward. It was an individual ward, private hospital. I had medical aid to afford it at that time. So that's what I had. So my husband and I are pacing up and down around this bed, praying in tongues, praying and declaring the word of the Lord. The pain is excruciating. I haven't taken any painkiller. Remember, I'm going natural. And by the time I got to hospital, it was too late for me to even get an epidural. So right now, I'm just carrying this pain as it is. And you can imagine the amount of groaning. I'm going and I'm praying. I'm saying, Lord, this is it. This is a moment. And I started to remind God that, Lord, we've been together. We've walked this journey before. I started pulling all the examples of the places and the times and the experiences when he pulled me through. I reminded him about the abduction experience. I reminded him about 3 hospital experiences, one of which you've already heard because I've already posted one of my hospital experiences about my leg. I told him that, Lord, here is my leg. According to the medical professionals, I'm not supposed to have this leg. So I do have it. So I can have this thing because, Lord, I'm not trusting in my own faith this time. I'm just trusting in your grace. And I'm just asking for your grace. And I was in tears, of course, because of pain and the groaning of my need for me to deliver naturally. So eventually I screamed harder. I said, no, I can't take this pain anymore. I called the nurses and they rushed in and they were asking, and I said, please just give me a painkiller, even if it's a Panado. They said, no, ma'am, it's too late. We can't do that. It would be dangerous. Why don't you go and get yourself, stand in the shower and just get very hot water at the back. Maybe it will relieve some of the pain. And I said, it reminded me of something that I read. I had downloaded from Google. So I rushed there and I was sitting almost like squatting down. And I remembered at that time that the amount of pain, even though the water, my husband was holding this fan behind me, even though it was giving me some slight relief, but the pain was so bad. And I started saying, now this is it. It's a do or die. I just called the name of my baby. I called her. I said, Avame, listen, to the word of the Lord. And at that time, I wasn't doing what I'm doing right now, saying, Vame, listen to the word of God. I just said, Vame, listen to the word of the Lord. I am in pain and I'm holding my tummy and I felt the baby moving a little bit. And I said, yes, listen here, my girl. You listen to the word of the Lord. I am needing you to jump out right now. I'm going to count for you 6, 5, 4, 3. When I say 3, you jump out. You hear me. And I'm saying that, and I'm sure my husband thought, some screws had gotten loose. So I then called her name. I said, now I'm counting. When I hit 3, you jump out. So I started 6, 5, and I'm thinking between 5 and 4, I'm thinking like, you dare not move, because then I don't know what to do after this. I would run out of all my ideas. So I'm like, 4. And when I said 3, the head just went, and I was dragged, lifted up like that. And they said, and my husband was screaming for the hospital help and said, hold on, hold on, hold on. I was dragged onto my bed. The nurses came, they just dragged the baby out. And the doctor was called to come and cut the umbilical cord. And when the doctor came in, she says, she delivered naturally. And the nurses are saying, geez, she's so strong. She was so bold and so strong. She didn't even need us to be around here for most of the time. We only got the husband screaming for help. And we rushed in. She was standing in the shower and she had already started delivering. And I delivered my baby. Now, I don't think it's just only my faith. I don't think it's only the health food that I enrolled myself in. I believe in the grace of God that stretches beyond our own understanding and our knowledge. And each moment I think about that, I feel a bit embarrassed, because when the doctor walked in, she said, how did this happen? I mean, you could see she was so puzzled. How could that happen? I mean, explain to me what happened. So as my husband was sharing what he shared, and the hospital nurses were sharing what they could share, she was like, wow, okay, wow. Because I remember the last appointment I had with her, it was the previous Tuesday. And I had told her that, Doc, I really still wish to go natural. And she said, no, I don't want us to take a chance this time. I looked at her and I was tearing. And the day before my delivery date, this was a Tuesday, I delivered Tuesday morning, and on Monday, I had such a deep sense of emotional and spiritual discontent. I was crying, and you can imagine I was ugly, I was fat, I was round. I was like crying even before I was crying. So, and then there was an Anglican chapel in town. I just walked there, and as you can imagine, I was dragging myself, and the tummy was already sagging lower. And I came to this lady at reception, and I just said, can I get your chapel keys? I want to go and pray. She looked at me, she said, you're not wanting to abort the child. I said, can you abort a child at this stage? I was like looking ugly and my tears were flowing, and then she just said, okay, let me go open, but I'll watch on you. I said, okay, I went. And I remember as I knelt down there and I was praying, I said, Lord, I'm trusting in your grace. I know that all the advice that I've received says that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, but I'm trusting you for my own faith, for my own growth. And of course, I checked with my mom, who was not educated, and she just told me that, oh, your education will tell you that you can't deliver naturally after you've had a cesarean operation. I delivered you naturally after I had an operation with your sister. So I thought, okay, maybe it was olden days, but at least it wasn't like I was taking a risk that I didn't know that it had been taken before. And because it had been taken before with me, I thought, then it means it's possible. I just need to bring myself up to that level. Of course, my mother had to caution me that, but you still need to listen to your doctor because she knows what she's talking about. And of course, yes, I was listening. But there was a thing that said, faith is not doing things that are possible or things that are normal. It's really stretching things beyond. And maybe it's not for the delivery of the child. Maybe it's for something else, growing my faith muscle for something else. So this is it. That's a story. That's another miracle in hospital. And each time I think about it, in fact, what I wanted, because I was declaring that Hebrew women are quickly delivered before the midwives walk in, they've already delivered. So before my gynecologist walked in, I had already delivered. So, and it took me only 3 days in hospital, just, monitoring whether everything was fine. After 3 days, I remember on that first day out, I was at the mall. That's how great I was feeling. It was almost like something huge had happened. It wasn't just because I delivered a baby, but it was because I delivered naturally. And people were so shocked to see me walking at the mall like, aren't you supposed to be in hospital? I said, I'm out. I've got my baby. So yeah, that's a testimony that I thought maybe it will help someone. I don't know how, but I'll still give you what meaning I attach to each and every one of these testimonies. For now, if you want to check out my music, bahatimusic.com or City Baby, and it's Bahati, and the name of the album is Umusa Wake, which means His Grace. Thank you.